All right. What is going on, everybody? How are we? This is John Voyage. I'm just coming here just to welcome everybody to this brand new podcast, and it is my distinct honor and pleasure to introduce to some, present to others, and this woman here. I am so proud to be sharing the stage with her as we start this new endeavor. Those of you that are in and around Columbus, Georgia, y'all know her as the Queen. For everybody else around the country and around the world, prepare to be treated, because this woman, man, got a lot of history, got a lot of knowledge, and man, a lot of passion for not only people and places and music and the things that she's experienced throughout her life. Man, she enjoys telling the story, and you're going to enjoy hearing it for real. So it is, again, my distinct pleasure and honor to present to some, introduce to others, the one and only Queen Rasheeda. Welcome to the Feel Great with the Queen Podcast.
Thank you, John. Hello, everybody. It's Queen Wave. Yeah, that's the way. Hi, John. Thank you for the
Hey,
podcast. Let's do this. I
I'm
am
glad to be
ready.
a part of it. So let's go and get started. Okay, you're a radio legend. You've been in radio for like well over 50 years. You don't look a day over 30.
Thank
Uh,
you.
I mean, not only have you like seen a lot of things, but you've met a lot of interesting people.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I mean, your story goes beyond broadcasting, and we're going to try to get into as much of that as possible. But first, let's talk about how you got started in your career.
In the broadcasting
Yes,
career,
ma'am.
oh my. I tell people that when I was a little girl, about 8 years old, 7, 8, or 9, somewhere, I went to our library. And that's a whole history lesson about libraries in the Jim Crow South. Okay. I went into this library, and that's what it was. It was segregation going on or desegregating. But anyway, I went into the library, and I think I went into my very first media center. I remember as a little girl, there was a tape recorder and then there was a microphone. And I had the opportunity as a young girl to talk in that microphone and then play it back. And
Hmm.
I don't know if that was the beginning of my future as a broadcaster, but I remember that happening. Um, Later years, I was the girl that spoke at this high school over the PA system. I
Mm.
use my voice to make the announcements. All seniors report to the auditorium. We're going to have a pep rally. I did that. And I had some speaking parts sometimes in a play or whatever. But as far as broadcasting, it started in New York City on
Okay.
on a professional level. It started in New York when I was a girl, probably maybe 19, 20, 21 years old. I went out to an employment agency and they sent me on a job at a radio
Mm.
station.
Now,
And
looking at these, I mean, these events as a little girl, coming across, in the library, doing the announcements at school. I mean, during all of that, did it ever cross your mind that this is something that you want to do? It's just, I mean, it seemed like that bug just got set in, but still,
I
it
never thought about doing
never
radio.
conceived it. Okay,
Never did it. Mm-mm. In
all right.
fact, if I must say, when I was a girl and I spoke correct English down in the South, we had to learn how to conjugate verbs. You were going to say, I am, you are, he, she, it is, we are, you are, they are. And we got that with whatever verb the teacher called that we had to stand up in front of the room and do that. So I
Mm.
did that. Well, it was okay to do that. And then the softness of my voice. I never
Right.
thought about it being a soft voice, but it was a soft voice and it was pleasant. But one thing that I had going on was I used to speak very slow, because I'm a Southerner. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
Southerner, okay? And I used to just talk really slow. But my late brother-in-law would come home for, a visit from California back to the East Coast. And one year, I think I had to be about 15 or 16 years old. And he said, "You know what? I just want you to talk a little bit faster. Just talk a little faster." And I said, "Okay." He said, "'Cause you sound sweet. You sound real nice, but just talk faster." So I got in the habit of speaking a little bit faster, and that put me right in the right element when I moved to New York City, because everything in New York was fast moving. People talking fast, people just doing everything fast.
Yeah, I was beginning to wonder. I mean, New York is just known for just being fast. I mean, everything just happening here fast, and now, I mean, right away, the people up there, they talk fast. Um, so you get to New York. This
Mhm.
Southern girl, African American girl, gets up to New York, and what were you like easily accepted, or was that a struggle to break in, or were you even trying to break into radio in New York, or how did that happen?
Yeah, no, I was not trying to break into radio. I went to an employment agency looking for a job. That's what I did, and I
Hmm.
can't remember the order of things because 'cause we're talking over 50 years ago, but I ended up at an employment agency where I sat down with a guy talking to me like you're talking to me. He wanted to learn a little bit about me, and I guess he peeped out my personality and my demeanor and my friendliness or whatever, and all of a sudden he said, I think you might do well at a radio station. I'm gonna send you over to WOR AM,
Okay.
what was it? WOR AM 710 on the dial,
Hmm.
and it was a talk radio station. And so I went over, I was interviewed, I was liked, well liked, right away. This little Southern belle from Georgia up in New York City. And I had the same personality, I had the same smile, and I just, you know, I had that. In fact,
Okay.
we're gonna show some pictures. I have a picture of me working in the studio in New York at the radio
Right.
station.
All right. And yeah, we're
That's
definitely going to show that on the screen,
yeah.
to everybody that's watching us on social media. If you're just listening to us, through one of your favorite podcast outlets, you definitely got to come over to the social media side and see these pictures. I mean, from what year is this picture that you're talking about?
This had to be 1969, 70.
All right, all
Yeah,
right.
because
I
I
was
left.
born in 1970. Wow.
Get out of
Okay.
town.
All
Yeah,
right. What was going
um,
on when I was coming out into the world? Okay.
see, my mother did not like the idea of my wanting to go to New York because she
Hmm.
just knew that I was just this little country girl from Columbus. I was laid back, easygoing, and I was talking about going to the fastest moving city pretty much in the world.
Hmm.
And she just saw her little girl up there amongst in the jungle. And but I went to that job and I was really well liked. I didn't put on any airs. I was just trying to do my job the best way, and everything that they taught me, I got it.
Hmm.
Now, I didn't come into radio on the microphone. No. I learned all the behind the scenes things before the microphone was ever even introduced to me.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so learning the behind the scenes and learning how to time a commercial and write it down, what time the commercial started, what time it ended, and that's the photo. When we show that photo, that's what I'll be doing in that photo.
All right.
Um,
All right.
I learned how to edit. I produced a show called The Hit Parade,
Hmm.
so I had to learn how to do that, counting backwards from an hour. And every
Hmm.
time I would put a song in, I would take away 3 minutes or however long the song was. And then I put another song in and take away those minutes and work my way back to 0 minutes left in that hour.
Okay.
Mhm.
All the behind the scenes stuff that nobody knows about what goes on
Exactly.
in the radio station. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, up till now we've been hearing like you know the the happy moments, the fortunate moments. I guess you can call it the big break, is what it's sounding like at least. Uh, but we're still talking about the 1960s.
Yes.
Okay. So African American woman goes up into this. First of all, it's a male dominated industry.
Mhm.
In the 60s,
Mhm.
were there some things that you might have experienced that were maybe rather unpleasant?
Well, being that I was such a young, innocent girl, I just wasn't looking at a lot of things. I didn't see
Hmm.
what some people saw. Um, I worked with other African American people in radio, but I also worked with you name it. There were Latino ladies, there were Caucasian men and women, there were other African Americans, and everybody was just friendly.
Okay.
Actually, I was just this girl that didn't know what not to do. And one of the things back in the 60s is women could not wear pants to work. This is
Okay.
back in the day when women wore skirts and dresses, and somehow I ended up being the person to ask the GM or the president of the company, "Could we wear pantsuits to work?" And he said, "I don't see why not."
Hmm.
So that happened. Then
Okay.
hot pants. Look, though, this is really weird. Hot pants and mini skirts came into
Hmm.
play, and the girls wanted to wear the skirts, and things were changing. And I may have been one to ask, could we do that? Could we wear these kind of clothing? So
All
if I
right.
started something, I'm sorry, you guys. If if I started something bad, I'm sorry about that. But I was this girl from the South that did not know anything to do but what I was doing.
All
I was,
right. All right.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, let's see. We're going to go ahead and take a break, everybody, and we're going to come back with more about Queen Rashida, her life in radio, and moving on to some other parts of her life as well. So just stay with us, and we will be right back.
Hi, everybody. Queen Rasheeda here, letting you know that I started on the Feel Great system on June of last year, 2024. When I started, oh man, I was in a lot of pain. I had pain going down my hip to my ankle every night, waking me up out of my sleep. I was also diagnosed pre-diabetic, and my blood pressure was up. Plus, I was overweight to the tune of 225 pounds. Well, I learned about the Feel Great system, and since then, I have dropped 40 pounds. My A1C number is down from 6.5 to 6.0. I'm not in pain anymore, and I don't take any painkillers. And by the way, I wasn't on a diet either. I'm on the Feel Great system, which is 2 food-based products and time-based eating. It's easy. I love it, and I will be on it for the rest of my life. It's the Feel Great system. You should try it too.
All right, we are back with the one and only Queen Rashida. We are here. It's a wonderful story. I'm enjoying this so far. How about you?
I am. This is my first time podcasting, so I'm looking forward to just what this is going to bring, because we know, you and I know, that there's some great information that's going to come out of this. So we want all of our friends to tell everybody the Queen is podcasting. And
Yes,
John,
indeed.
my radio show was called Cruising with the Queen for many years.
All right.
Cruising with the Queen, because I did get on air once I moved back to Georgia, but
Hmm.
it was called Cruising with the Queen.
Cruising
So
with the
we're
Queen.
podcasting with the Queen now.
All right, we're gonna get into all that and about being on the air and how the name Queen Rashida came about. But I want everybody to know. I mean, we're introducing Queen Rasheeda today because this is her new podcast. We definitely want you to know who you're listening to. She's a very interesting woman. She's got a lot of history, a great story, and you're gonna definitely love tuning in to her podcast as often as it comes out. Don't miss an episode. All right, I'm telling you, I promise you do
Thank you.
not want to miss an episode hearing what this woman has to say. Okay, so we're in New York.
You're in New
All
York.
right, in New York, and you're doing a lot of behind the scenes stuff. That we're talking like what traffic, weather. Um, Pick it up from there.
Actually, there had to be someone to keep everything in order.
Hmm.
And the other thing about New York radio, you had to be a member of the union in order to touch any of the equipment.
Hmm.
So I could not go and sit in the studio and sit at a board and run the board and all that and talk in a mic by alone. I would have to have an engineer that would do the technical stuff. And if I were going to talk, that's what I would do. Now I worked directly for the program director, the guy that was over programming, and
Hmm.
his office had some equipment in it that I could touch. So I was able to touch his equipment, and that's how I got a chance to produce the Hit Parade show.
Okay.
And the Hit Parade was music from the 50s and the 60s, and putting it together so it could air. I also, like I said, had an analog clock that had the hands and the second hand, and I had to watch that clock, and when a commercial would start, I write down what time it was. And when the commercial ended, I wrote down what time it was. So
Hmm.
that was the thing that I did. On a good, wonderful note, I got a chance to go out with the traffic reporter. Can you imagine this being in a helicopter, riding over New York City with
Oh
the
wow,
traffic reporter?
man.
And I was right there. The helicopter had that big bubble in the front, and all I'm
Hmm.
seeing is just everything through glass. And I'm up over the Verrazano Bridge one moment, then I'm headed up the West Side Highway, coming across down the East Side Highway into Brooklyn, back up to Manhattan and to Bronx. That was a real fun thing to just
I'm sure
ride
it
with that
was.
helicopter traffic reporter.
Wow.
I had a position as the Gal Friday, which is
Hmm.
the new name now in modern day time is the receptionist, okay?
Okay.
I
I
was
was
the
asking myself, what is
receptionist.
that?
Yeah, the Gal Friday. Um,
Hmm.
the receptionist was the one that received everyone that came to be a guest on this particular radio station. And there was a morning show. I remember the Rambling with Gambling. So my
Hmm.
friends around the world, I'm that young girl that worked with John Gambling, the great grandfather of whoever is out there today, and then his son took over. But I was the girl that knew all of the shows. There was
Okay.
a couple that sat in their New York apartment overlooking Central Park. They
Hmm.
were the Fitzgeralds.
Okay.
And maybe they were podcasting back in the early 70s because all they did was talk about what they saw going on in Central Park.
Okay.
Then there was a guy named Joe Franklin. He just had
Hmm.
a great show. I couldn't tell you everything that they were talking about because my job was to write down those commercials and what time they were running and what time they were stopping.
Yeah.
I met great athletes. I met Joe Namath. Anybody know who
Okay.
Joe Namath is? Who remembers
Yeah.
Joe Namath? I met
Hmm.
Joe Namath in person. I met the New York Jets in person. I
Hmm.
met Walter Clyde Frazier in person with the New York
Okay.
Knickerbockers. And so many famous people came through. Columbo, remember him? And
Yeah.
John Cassavetes, movie stars, Gladys Knight, Stevie Wonder. I tell anybody, if Stevie meets me today, and Stevie, if you're watching, I know you
Wow.
remember me because when he came to the station, I saw him in the I saw him in the elevator, and
Okay.
he was with his aide to help him get around. And
Mhm.
I was so excited. I said, "Oh, that's Stevie Wonder." Now, mind you, I'm like 20 years old, 19 or 20. And I said, "Oh, Mr. Wonder." I jumped in the elevator. "Oh, Mr. Wonder, I know
Mhm.
where you're going. You're going to the floor where I work." And he says, "Yes, is that the 20th?" I said, "Yes, sir, that's the 20th floor." So we get in the elevator together and we're
Okay.
riding up to the 20th floor. And we had a talk, and he says, "Well, tell me, what's your zodiac sign, young lady?" And I
Mhm.
said, "I'm a Libra." And he's
Mhm.
I think he's a Leo. I believe he's a
Okay.
Leo. And we talked just briefly, and he just was a kind, funny kind of guy,
Mhm.
just down to earth. We get to the floor, and I proudly walk out, and everybody sees me walking with Stevie Wonder. They couldn't believe it. And I guided him to the studio, and it was a guy named, I believe his name was John Wingate. John, you're taking me back over 50 years,
All
okay?
right.
So
It's
his
all
name
coming
was
back. It's all coming back.
he it is coming back because I don't get
Mhm.
to talk about this very much. But John Wingate was kinda like Larry King,
Okay.
or maybe I'm thinking about a guy named Barry Farber. But there are
Mhm.
some people that may be still around that say, "Oh my gosh, she's talking about all these people." Um, he had a show like, Larry King,
Yeah.
talk radio.
Mhm.
I met Don Criqui. If people look up his name, he was a sports reporter.
Mhm.
I knew, the guys that were gonna introduce and interview the sports legends, and then, of course, the movie stars that came through and the singing stars, and I just was in the middle of all of that. So the girls on the floor at that time says, "Well, are you gonna ask Stevie Wonder a question? Are you gonna get to ask him a question?" And they looked at me and asked, "Do you have a question?" So
Mhm.
I had to come up with a question real quick. Now let's stay with me, people. We were in 19, what would I say, 69, 70. So I asked Stevie Wonder, "Mr. Wonder, do you think you will ever do a remake of Fingertips?" You remember Fingertips?
Mhm.
Everybody say, "Yeah." Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
He immediately said, "No."
Oh
No.
wow. That's
And
such a classic.
to this
Mhm.
day, he has not done a remake of Fingertips.
Mhm.
But I asked him why. He said, "Well, that's a little boy doing that."
Mhm.
He was 12 or 13 years old when he did
Little
that
Stevie.
song. And
Mhm.
that little boy voice was not gonna be able to be duplicated 5, 10, 20 years later, you know?
That's
So
true.
he so somehow he knew he would never ever do Fingertips again.
Wow. Okay.
But we had that talk, and then later in the year, he came back to the radio station,
Mhm.
and someone came to my studio where I was working and said, "Hey, Stevie Wonder is in the building." Now, I don't mind telling you, back then, my name was Cheryl Jackson.
Okay.
It was not Rashida, okay? So they said, "Cheryl, Stevie Wonder is back in the building." And I said,
Mhm.
"Oh, really? I gotta go say hello to him. I don't even know if he will remember me, but I'm gonna go say hello." So I go in the studio, and the host of that show allowed me to come in. I said, "Hey, I just wanted to say hello to Stevie Wonder since I work on the floor and all that." And he says, "Yeah, come on in." Well, when I walked in, Stevie heard what I said, and
Mhm.
he acts like he can see because he'll
Mhm.
turn to the direction of the voice.
Right.
He said, "You're that Libra I met the last time I was here." I nearly passed out. I said,
Oh
"Okay,
wow.
it's on now. He's gonna
Mhm.
know me forever." So, yeah. But
I know,
that
man. That.
that's how that was. Great job to be able to meet a lot of people and to see New York City from the air in a
Mhm.
helicopter. That's one of my most fond memories. Boat rides around the island of Manhattan,
Right.
just
Right.
because the radio station allowed me to do that. I went on my first cruise ship to a Bon Voyage party.
Okay.
Had my first glass of champagne probably at 20 years old. I was like
Uh-huh.
woozy. I was so woozy. It was so funny.
Oh wow.
But those were
New
some
York can definitely
fun.
be an interesting place. I definitely hope that you and Stevie get to cross paths again. That would be
Oh, I
really
hope so.
interesting.
Yeah,
Yes,
I hope
indeed.
so
Yes,
too.
indeed. Okay, so from New York, you found your way back to Columbus, Georgia.
I did. Hmm.
How did that transition take place?
Well, I was working in radio for a while, and then I ended up working in legal, and other things happened. But by 1975, so it took me to 1975, I ended up meeting a guy in New York, and we ended up having a child. And I decided my mom came to New York to help me out with the baby, but then I needed to go home. 6 months
Hmm.
later, I wanted to go home on Mother's Day and take the baby so my mom could see the baby, but I got stuck in Columbus.
Oh
I
wow.
wasn't Yeah, I wasn't really comfortable in a relationship, not married, but with child. Even though the guy was really a great guy, I
Hmm.
fell in love and the whole deal. He had a very famous father whom I did not know anything about a famous man
Okay.
in that arena. But I went home after the baby was born, and
Mm.
I got to know baby's granddad and baby's dad, and I met other musicians. It got to be a musician thing going on in my life,
Okay.
and Michael Henderson. I don't know if you
Uh
remember
huh.
that name, and George, was it Howard, played saxophone, and
Hmm.
of course Herbie Hancock.
Okay.
Meeting all these guys because of who my baby's grandfather
I know you're
is
not
or
going to leave us
was.
hanging. Everybody out in the audience is wondering, okay, who is this baby's father? Who's his grandfather? What?
Well, I met his name was Rahman Ali,
Okay.
but his birth name was Gregory Miles Davis. And so
The
this
Miles
was
Davis.
D. Miles Davis's son saw me at work. I was working in legal, and he wanted to talk with me.
Hmm.
Now, my people, y'all are getting ready to learn some real stuff about Rasheeda here. The man really wined and dined me,
All
swooned
right.
me, swept me off my feet. He was very fine young man. God bless him. He has passed on now.
Mm-hmm.
But when he saw me, and my name was Cheryl, he has a sister named Cheryl. They may be watching right now. But anyway, he wanted to talk to me, but he didn't let it be known until the next day. I get a call because I worked in legal services, and I worked in landlord and tenant division. And the upstairs in that building was family court business. So
Okay.
I, the way I saw him, I took some paperwork from my floor to the second floor, and he was in the office of the executive secretary when I walked in to give her some papers, and I just, Miss what Ebony, Miss Fagan. I brought these papers from our secretary. So she says, "Well, okay, thank you, Cheryl. Cheryl, this is Rahman Ali. Rahman, this is Cheryl." Oh, hello, nice to meet you. And I turned and walked out. Now,
Okay.
but in today's time, it would have been, oh my God, he is fine. But I didn't do that. I didn't do
Mm-hmm.
that. Then John, honestly, I did not give it a thought.
Hmm.
I really didn't. I went on back to work like a girl should do, go right on back to work.
Mm-hmm.
But the next day, I get this phone call. And the young lady at the reception desk says, "Rashida, you have a call on line one." I said, "Really?" Okay, I answer the phone. He wants to know, am I Cheryl? I said, "Yeah, I'm Cheryl." He says, "Well, I saw you yesterday in Miss Fagan's office, and I wanted to talk with you." I said, "Oh, you might mean the Cheryl that works upstairs on that floor." He said, "No, you had on blue." So I said, "Oh, okay, okay." So yeah, so we
Okay.
talked. He says, "I was just wondering if I could come and take you home from work."
Okay.
And I was like, Well, I'm, young girl. He was a cute guy, and things weren't like they are today. And I
Mm-hmm.
just said, okay. Make a long story short, he comes, he gets me in a Ferrari, John.
Okay.
A
All
Ferrari.
right. He's making a statement.
This girl from Columbus, Georgia, though, I have to
Mm-hmm.
tell y'all, I did not know what no Ferrari was. I just thought it was another car. I'm 20
Right.
years old from Columbus, Georgia. Don't judge me.
But you up in New York City now.
I know.
All
So
right.
the short story on that is we did meet. We were together for another 2 years
Mm-hmm.
before the baby came, and when I left to come home, it was for a vacation and to let my mom see the baby who had gotten to be 6 months old.
Okay.
I never went back.
Hmm.
Not to my apartment, crazy wild girl. Just not thinking, left my furniture, left my
Oh
clothes, left
wow.
the baby
Okay.
stuff. I just didn't wanna go back. I got home and I was, like, at home.
At home.
My
Hmm.
mom
No
was
place like
home.
home. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no
It is. You
place
got
like
this new
home.
baby, and you're around
Yeah,
your support system. Yes,
exactly.
indeed. Meanwhile,
And
up
and
there in New York, somebody, hey, if anybody up there in New York is listening, y'all got some auctioned off furniture and stuff like that. It just might belong to Miss Cheryl Jackson here. I'm
oh,
just
Lord.
saying.
But, it was not for me to spend the rest of my life in New York City. It
Hmm.
was not for me to spend the life with Rahman because that was a fast, fast life. I mean, can you
Yeah.
imagine being Miles Davis's son
Hmm.
and his
Hmm.
bodyguard and his
Wow.
the guy that paid his band members, and
Hmm.
then you're a fine young man, you're looking all good, got the curly hair and everything. So there were a lot of women there, and honestly, women who might have been trying to get the Miles might cut through Rockman trying to
Trying to
get
get
to
to it.
the
Yeah,
dad,
I can
and
understand
I
that.
was like, this is not the life I want to
Hmm.
live. But I never thought that I wouldn't go back. When I came home on vacation, I had every intention of going back. I bought a
All
round
right.
trip ticket. I had my baby, the furniture and all was there. But
Hmm.
I ended up staying in Columbus. So
All
I had
right.
two things under my belt now. I had
Mm.
broadcasting, radio, and then I had legal. So when
Okay.
I got home, it was gonna be, "Which job are you going to go into?"
And on
And
that
and
note, we're going
yeah.
to go ahead and take another pause take another pause, take another break, and we're going to come back. We're going to continue this story. We're going to find out how Cheryl became Rashida. And
Okay.
but one more thing before I go, I understand that there was somewhere during that transition back, there was like some kind of connection with Tupac.
Oh, yeah, that's where I worked in legal,
Oh, okay,
and
all
and
right.
working for the Bronx Legal Services, I worked with Afeni Shakur
Tupac's
and
mother.
Tupac's mother, yeah.
Okay.
And she was a paralegal. She had been a very militant young lady, and it
Mm-hmm.
was like we were like salt and pepper. We were like night and day. We were like up and down, but I was still the friendly girl, and they
Mm-hmm.
knew that I was gullible, I was naive, and she was just she kind of watched over me.
All
And
right. I'm
and when
telling y'all. I mean, the woman has stories, y'all. Definitely continue to tune in to the Queen Rasheeda podcast. Feel great with the Queen. We're gonna come back in a second, and we're gonna pick up right where we left off. Hey, don't go nowhere. We'll be right back.
Invited. So with us this afternoon, radio personality, entrepreneur, my friend Rasheeda Ali, and we have Greg Hoyd with us. He is part of it too. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you for having us. Thank you, Dee.
Oh,
Dee.
because
Thank you, Dee.
it's a concern, not just in the South, but all over the country, but in particular in the South. I'll start with you, Rasheeda, that we understand the problems that can have with our health and to be on top of things. Is that why you wanted to be a part of this?
Well, I learned. I learned why I have high blood pressure. I learned why I was aching in my body. And it's not something that we'll hear every day. It's called insulin resistance. That's the big subject. Insulin resistance causes a lot of things to go wrong in the body, even if you're looking like you're the healthiest person in the world. So I learned that. I had pain. I don't have pain anymore because of this feel great system that we have.
Uh-huh.
I lost weight because
I see, and you look marvelous, my friend.
thank you.
Yeah.
And that's the word. That is the word. This health mega meetup that we're having tomorrow, people need to come. They need to come so they can hear about this. That it's just too much.
Okay, we are back, ladies and gentlemen, to Feel Great with the Queen. We are talking to the one and only Queen Rasheeda. And man, definitely share this podcast with as many people as you can, because, I mean, this is a treat. I don't know about y'all, but I'm enjoying hearing all this history, hearing the story, all this wrapped up into, in this one woman. This is a lot of history, y'all. And this, man, I mean, I'm really just thrilled to just be able to spend this time with you. I mean,
Thank you. Thank
I
you.
feel like one of the little kids in kindergarten class surrounding the teacher, sitting in the middle of the classroom reading the story. I mean, because I'm just on pins and needles here, just taking all of this in.
Okay.
So you're back in Columbus with your child, Miles Davis's grandson.
Yeah.
Okay, and let's pick it up from there. So let's see, you decided not to go back to New York, is what you were saying.
Yeah, it wasn't immediate. I just started feeling some kind of way, as they say, about going back. I was uncomfortable with going back. I was a mama's girl, so I was all right with staying home with my mom. And I talked with a very dear friend, a lady that was probably 80 years old then. She lived to be 98. And I talked to her because she was just that friend like that. And she said, "Baby, if you got second thoughts about it, just say your prayers and let God guide you." And so I ended up staying home. Now, a flashback to New York is I was introduced to Islam,
Mm-hmm.
okay, in New York. Remember, his name was Rahman Ali.
Ali, right.
So, yeah, so by being introduced to Islam, I actually converted to become
Mm-hmm.
Muslim. And I
Mm-hmm.
came back home with Islam in my spirit and wanting to learn more. And I had learned how to write Arabic and studying the Quran and making my prayers best way I knew how. And I went for it. But I was still Cheryl Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
And I met a Muslim sister because I know you're going to ask me, well, how did you become Rasheeda? Well, I met a sister and I was going to a Savior's Day program, which was in Atlanta. And the sister asked me, "What's your name?" Now, when I converted in New York, I was told that I would receive a holy name. And I was like, from who? Where? How am I going to get a holy name? And it came to me because I had gone to an outdoor event, a bazaar, they called the outdoor
Mm-hmm.
bazaar. And one of the things that I contributed was some work that I did with my hooking skills.
Okay.
Okay. My hooking skills. I'm the
Right.
friendly neighborhood hooker, by the way.
Okay. Now please explain that.
I crochet, y'all. My mother taught me how to crochet when I was 7 years old, and I could crochet very well. So, in crocheting around musicians and their women friends or wives or girlfriends, they thought I was really special because I could crochet. I was trying to play the piano a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I could do whatever I wanted to do. It just happened. So, in New York, I became Rasheeda, but I didn't know I was Rasheeda by name. And
Okay.
so when I told the young lady about this poster that I had received at this bazaar,
Mm-hmm.
it was written in Arabic. It had the Arabic translation, the English writing for the English word. And it just took me. And I sat down with that poster and I taught myself how to write Arabic from the Arabic poster.
Okay.
The one word that's just jumped off the page at me was Rashid, which is AR, capital RASHEED.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of the 99 names of Allah,
Mm-hmm.
Ar Rashid. It means being on the right path, being
Okay.
on the right path. That's God on the right
Mm-hmm.
path. So I could not name myself or Rashid. In fact, I did not name myself. I just told a friend how much I loved that word. I could write it in Arabic. It was beautiful to look at. And she said, well, you know what? Your name should be Rashida.
And the
And that
star is born.
and there it is. Whoop, there it is.
All right.
So so that's how I became Rashida, and
Mm-hmm.
I've been Rashida ever since then.
Okay.
Right after my child was born, of course, I had a birth certificate that had Cheryl Jackson on it for him, which makes it difficult nowadays to do certain things,
Mm-hmm.
but that's how I became Rashida. And
Okay.
yeah, so the jobs that
Mm-hmm.
I had a job as the first black girl in Columbus, Georgia, to work in the Burger King administrative office
Uh-huh.
back in 1976. So anyway, I came back home as Cheryl Jackson. I ended up being Rashida because
Rashida.
of learning how to write Arabic and falling
Mm-hmm.
in love with it, and got a job with the Burger King administrative office. That was my first job,
Mm-hmm.
and I it was okay. But you had asked me in the other segment what kind of things did I meet with in New York. It
Yeah.
wasn't until I got back home to Columbus that I was met with ooh, some
Yeah.
things.
I was gonna say, you didn't really mention too many problems in New York, and I guess because a lot of the stuff that we would expect is experienced down south. So
Right?
now you're coming back to the south,
Yeah,
and whoop,
yeah,
there it is.
yeah. And that's just the way it was. I mean, I met some great people in New York, and it was fun times. Another musician I didn't get to talk about. I may talk about him another time because he went on to become a famous guy and got his image on the side of a big, tall skyscraper in London, England.
Hmm.
As a So those kind of things happened to me in New York, but when I got back to Columbus, ooh-wee,
Mm-hmm.
it was a rough time,
Yeah.
and, the reason I left was because it was a rough time, and there were things
Mm-hmm.
that I didn't wanna be a part of here, but I was back with my baby and, worked with the administrative office at Burger King. Girls played tricks on me, ugly things happened with the phone, and then my next job was with a lawyer because I had
Mm-hmm.
also worked in legal in New York. So it was either going to be legal or radio. But
Okay.
I got the job with the lawyer who is now Congressman Sanford Bishop. Gave me my
Okay.
first executive secretary job for his law firm. And that was really good for as long as I did it. I learned a lot about law.
Mm-hmm.
I became vice president of a union in New York
Okay.
as a legal affiliate.
Mm-hmm.
But back in Georgia, I ended up working in law with the congressman who was a state representative at the time. And one day I told him, I said, Representative Bishop, I think I want to do radio again. It was sort of like in my blood. And he
Mm-hmm.
was so kind. He says, "You know what, Rashida? I will wish you well. I hope you will do good." And that was when my oldest son was maybe a year old by
Okay.
then. Yeah. And I went back to radio,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where I stayed forever, look like, because I
Okay.
just retired in December 2024,
Mm-hmm.
the second retirement.
And you were awarded with
Oh yeah.
like the Lifetime Achievement Award in radio.
Yes, I did get that award this past August up in
Okay.
Atlanta in a place called Backstage.
Mm-hmm.
The radio and records got a nomination from a dear person I never knew. You never know how people feel about you. Not really. You know, the young lady called and said, I'm going to nominate you for the Lifetime Achievement Award with
Mm-hmm.
Radio and Records. And I was like, Lifetime Achievement? I mean, I had seen that on the BET Awards, and see the guys that get that kind of award. I didn't know how big Radio and Records was.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty big thing, because the people that I saw at that was like, wow. Karen White, the lady that sings a Superwoman, I'm Not
Superwoman,
Your
right.
Superwoman. She was there to receive an award.
Mm-hmm.
Another local jock from Columbus, DJ Chip, was there
Okay.
to receive the Programmers Director of the Year award, and so many others. I had once upon a time in radio in Columbus had Larry Blackman of Cameo.
Cameo. Mm-hmm.
Word up, remember him? He did
All
a
right.
radio. He did my afternoon show with me one day, and so
Nice.
the Cameo group was receiving an award. But that was one of many awards that I have received over the years. Um,
Wow.
yeah, my
And
my
all that.
piano is full of awards.
Okay. And all that starting from a trip to the library and just being mesmerized by a microphone and a cassette player,
And the cassette
all the way up
player,
to Lifetime Achievement Award for over 50 years in radio.
yeah, and to
Congratulations
have
on that.
and thank you, John. But also back in 2022,
Mm-hmm.
the other state congressman, uh, Ed Harbison here in Georgia, 15. That's his area. His
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He actually decided to start the Georgia Radio Legends, and in 2022 invited three of us from Columbus to go to Atlanta to the state capitol and
Okay.
receive the Radio Legends Award that he does now annually, because he
Mm-hmm.
couldn't get everybody in one setting. But the first one was all of the jocks that he wanted to get from around the state of Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
The next one, he decided to go with the area that he represented and named some others. And then he named others. It's been like 3 years now that he's done that. Other awards include my being in radio for, I think at the time, 35 years, and
Mm-hmm.
my birthday, and the Music Legends Awards here in Columbus. I'm trying to picture it in my mind. Another group I've received other awards for other things, but in radio, it's been real nice. Radio and Records on this last one.
Okay. Okay. Such an illustrious career.
It's
Well,
been something to write about.
yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Well, again, I feel honored just to be able to interview you like this. I mean, so much history, both in in broadcasting and just overall. But what we need to what I want to shift to now is like outside of radio. You are the head of some organizations, namely the Grannies on Guard
Yeah.
organization. Let's talk a little bit about that and how that got started.
Thank you. Granny's on Guard came about because I had it on my mind that in 2021 and prior, so much violence was going on across the country, and especially in my hometown. Young children picking up weapons, shooting and killing each other, and just robbing people, stealing cars. They were just doing a lot of bad
Hmm.
stuff. I have two grandsons at that time. They were a year and 5 months apart in age, and one of them lost his life. But the way that that happened, we still don't know. We don't know who did it. The case became a cold case because it was 3 years and they still had not found out who did it. But then a law was passed, or a bill was passed, that they could reopen cold case files. So maybe one day, I believe one day, somebody will come forward and let us know who murdered my grandson. But because of his death, I had already been on another interview. I was telling you about StoryCorps. And so if anybody want to see that one, that's out on the Library of Congress website. Another young lady is talking to me about my life. And in the middle of that conversation, I made a statement because 7 days prior, my oldest grandson, who was 15 at the time, took a bullet.
Mm.
He took a bullet and he was left to die in the street. And someone saw him laying there and picked him up and took him to the fire station. And the fire truck took him to the hospital
Mhm.
because that was had to get him there in a hurry.
Yeah.
That was 7 days before the interview with the young lady on StoryCorps. Well, she wasn't from StoryCorps,
Mhm.
but StoryCorps was recording. I was just talking to her like I'm talking to you, and all of a sudden I just said something about, we just got to learn what we can do with our young children. We got to come together, the adults in the world, in the United States, in Columbus, Georgia. We got to do something with young kids. And just as quick as I said that, I was done with that part of the conversation. We didn't even go in any
Mhm.
more into it. I guess maybe on my mind, I was thinking about my older grandson because he was in the
Mhm.
hospital fighting this bullet. He became stable. And
Mhm.
so I said it. 7 days after that interview, my second grandson was murdered.
Mm.
And with my saying what I said 7 days before, it just came together. The day that it happened, a young lady called to express her condolences, and she said, Miss Rasheeda, I think you probably could get some people together, some moms, some dads, some grandmoms, some aunts and uncles, some sisters and some brothers, and just get the people together. And I believe you could get them to, and y'all could take back the neighborhood. That's the way she had put
Mhm.
it. And I said, when I think about my childhood, now I'm talking 60 years ago now, but when I think about what the adults did with us back then, and maybe on the podcast, we can talk about that. Because what is it going to
Mhm.
take to get things back right? Really?
Mhm.
I just thought about how they took us to ball games. They took us to the park. We
Yeah.
could go roller skating. We could go bowling. We played hopscotch, jump rope. The boys shot marbles and threw horseshoes. And I know this is the deep, dirty South, but that's what we did. And it was so
Yeah.
much fun. So I thought about
Mhm.
all of that and I said, well, maybe I could just get with some kids and just have some fun. Because I was asked, "What would you do with the kids?" And I said,
Mhm.
I would just have fun. I would let them have fun because they need to know that they are still children and that they have a lot of time to
Mhm.
grow into manhood and do what men do. But right now, let's keep them children for as long as we can.
Yeah.
So that's what happened. And the next thing I know, she's saying, well, what will you call it? And I said, I have no idea what to call it. And we were together. This young lady, by the way, is now the executive director of the NAACP for the state of Georgia.
Okay.
She dated my
Mhm.
oldest son, and she was like my
Mhm.
daughter-in-law, and I'm her like her mom-in-law, even though they don't date anymore. But she and I were talking, and we ended up just sitting around. She was trying to keep me from breaking down and just having company because
Mhm.
this was the day after this happened, the morning, the night before, and this is that
Mhm.
Sunday afternoon. And out of nowhere, later, she says, I know what you can call it, Miss Rashida. I said, what's that? She said, Granny's on guard. And when she said it, I
Oh.
was like, yeah, that's a good one there. And we
Mhm.
went on to decide to create a Granny's on Guard Facebook group page. Um,
Mhm.
we decided to do things with children 12 and under because I looked online to see if there was any groups working with children 12 and under besides the Girls Scouts, Brownies, and the Cub Scouts, and the Boys and Girls Club, where children would have to go to them. but we wanted to be
Mm-hmm.
an adult group that would go to the children. So I started putting
Okay.
together events at recreation centers. And
Mm-hmm.
for the first 2.5 years, 3 years, we were at a recreation center every month. Every
Mm.
month, I would get with the rec director and ask him to get the children. You get the children, we'll do the rest. So
Yeah.
there were women who had joined the Facebook group, and then there were some who were local. And when it was time to go to the children, we had a few that would show up, and we would go and have a fun day, a
Mm-hmm.
Granny's on Guard fun day with no. It's a fun day event with no electronics, and
Have
that
at it.
that either got a laugh or it got
Mm-hmm.
a yeah. That's a good
Yeah.
one right there.
Mm-hmm.
But but that's how
Well.
Granny's on Guard was formed, and we are still doing it. We received a congressional award from the
Mm-hmm.
senator from Georgia, John Ossoff, and that was big. That was real nice that he found out about us and made that award happen. And that's what we do.
Everything that I've heard about Granite on Guard, I mean, it's really amazing, very, very admirable. And yeah, I mean, like Queen Rashida said, everyone, if you're interested in finding out more about the organization, I mean, check out the Facebook page.
Yeah.
It's Granny's on Guard on Facebook, correct?
Yes, Granny's on
And
Guard on Facebook, hashtag GOG on Instagram. You'll see it that way. But I have the queenrashida.com, a work
mhm.
in progress, and soon everything will be right there for you to see.
And if anybody wanted to donate to Granny's on Guard, could they reach out to you in one of these platforms?
Yes, absolutely. Royal Hook Crochet. That's
Okay.
that's where your friendly neighborhood hooker it has a Royal Hook Crochet page on Facebook, and I'm also hashtag Royal Hook Crochet
All
for
right. Royal
donations
Hook
that
Crochet.
way. Uh, Maybe we will create a QR code for donations
Hmm.
if you would like to donate to Granny's on Guard. Because what we do with the kids, we meet, the children are there. Our first part is to introduce ourselves as Granny's on Guard. And we may have anywhere from 8 to 10 or 12 grannies that physically show up. And each one has always had a chance to talk to the children and give them a word of wisdom or a word of advice or some sort of message. And
Hmm.
we would go down the line and let each granny do that. And then I would do my thing. And I
Hmm.
like to show my thing because just recently someone sent me a video of the thing that I do every time I get in front of the children. And that is only how to say help me in sign language. And
Hmm.
as simple as this, help me.
Hmm.
Help me. If you
Hmm.
see it behind someone's back and it's looking like this, behind the back, help me.
Hmm.
Goes up, straight up, help me. Just remember, help me. And if you see it, you should know what it is. John, I had an opportunity to meet with a group, I think they were called Micah's Promise,
Hmm.
uh, because of some human trafficking that had gone on, and a
Hmm.
child went missing.
Hmm.
And I thought I'm still in the South, and things are not all one. It's even yet. I mean, people might want to make you think it is, but it's not. And so, but it's okay. It's a friendly environment. You are as friendly. Your environment is as friendly as you are. I'll put it like that.
Hmm.
But these people were in this room that held 100 people. And the librarian at that time had asked me to come down to the library to show these people, help me. And I said, oh, they probably already know it because they were Caucasian people, most of them. 99% of them in the room were Caucasian.
Hmm.
She says, show them anyway. So I felt a little foolish. I'm not going to lie. I was like, do I really need to do this? And the spirit said yes. So I introduced myself to the group and I said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Rasheeda, and I just want to show you something. I think you all may already know this. I definitely felt like over half of them would already know it. And something made me ask them, do you know how to say help me in sign language? And nobody in the room knew how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Some people may know how to spell out help me,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a
That could take
sign.
a while.
Yeah, and they did not know. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, "Well, okay, then I guess my purpose is fulfilled. I'm here to show you how to recognize it and how to do it if you need to do it yourself. Teach it to your children and your grandchildren. Everyone needs to know this sign because grown women are being taken. We have all kind of things that we present to the children with Granny's on Guard. We
Mm-hmm.
tell them if you're across the street, you're a 10-year-old kid, and somebody says, hey, Shawty, is Shawty your name?
Mm-hmm.
No. So be mindful who you go running to when they call your name. And even you grown-ups, John, I'm talking to
Mm-hmm.
you. Somebody might say, hey, old school,
Uh-huh.
you going in the store. Hey, old
Right.
school, is old school your name?
No,
No.
not at all.
So we got to be mindful who we're going to stop and talk with because we don't know
Mm-hmm.
who's going to take and snatch you up with three or four of his buddies because
Right.
he already tried to trick you with old school. Hey, old
Mm-hmm.
school. Well, you figure, yeah, I can talk to this youngster. And they
Mm-hmm.
may be setting you up. You just don't know.
Just
I
don't
know
know.
God didn't give us a spirit of suspicion, but we're living in a real rough time right now. So
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the things we do. Teach the kids, give them a word of wisdom, and then we move into the time of playing games with them and letting them
Okay.
play games and having the fun, and they love it. And finally, we get to fellowshipping and eating and having a good meal, and that's where the funds come in to help me purchase what I need to provide for the children, and it has worked out wonderfully well.
Great.
Last year in May, I did a benefit concert, and
Mm-hmm.
the local Southern Soul artists in Columbus came out to help raise the money, and we did well.
All
And
right. All
and
right.
it's always something to do with children, and they will remember you.
All right. Everybody definitely check out GOG, Granny's on Guard on Facebook, Royal Hook Crochet on
Royal Hook Crochet on
Instagram.
Facebook as well, and hashtag Royal Hook Crochet because Royal Hook Crochet is a sponsor of Granny's Own Guard, as
Mm-hmm.
well as Unicity International. And I can't wait to tell y'all about this.
That is something we're definitely going to get into. Definitely,
Mhm.
human trafficking is such a big problem, especially
Yeah,
when
it
it
is.
concerns our children. So definitely consider donating to Granny's on Guard. And yeah, speaking of unicity, we're going to talk about that coming up in our next episode, y'all. Y'all do not want to miss that part. Okay, no, the
Right.
story's not over. The story's not over. But I want to go ahead and thank you for spending this hour with us, your Royal Highness.
Thank you, John.
It's been fun. I can't wait to continue the conversation.
All righty.
All
Thanks a
right.
lot. Thanks for having me. We're
Yes, indeed.
podcasting with the Queen. Keep your eyes on the scene here. Look for it on my Facebook. I also have queenrashida.com on the web. I have a YouTube channel. It's Rasheeda Ali 528, and that's a lot. You can find me. I'm easy to find.
All right.
Glad to be internationally known now.
Right. And you can definitely find her on Feel Great with the Queen, y'all, on the podcast.
Yes.
All right. So definitely tune in next time for the next episode. We're going to continue this conversation.
Good night.
All right.